Welcome back, dear listener, to The World Asleep. Tonight, we find ourselves drifting beneath the endless sky that stretches across the United States, a land filled with untold stories and a history deeply intertwined with mystery. For decades, the skies above have witnessed countless strange lights, unexplained shapes, and eerie movements that continue to captivate the public imagination. From the vast deserts of Nevada to the quiet corners of small-town America, strange things have been seen, and some are still waiting to be fully understood. What makes the skies of the United States a focal point for so many UFO sightings? Why do they seem to appear so often across so many landscapes in places both remote and bustling? From early sightings in the mid-20th century to the more recent revelations, UFOs have become a symbol of both fear and fascination. But beyond the headlines and sensationalized stories, what is the deeper connection between this phenomenon and the people who have witnessed it? As we embark on tonight's exploration, let your mind settle into the mystery. The world outside can wait. Close your eyes to the present and imagine a time when the unknown was not just a distant concept, but something very real, something just above the horizon. If you find peace in these quiet journeys through time, perhaps consider liking and subscribing to our channel. Your support helps us continue these quiet explorations into the heart of history and mystery. And as you listen, I wonder, where are you watching from? And what time is it in your world as you join us tonight? Wherever you are, I'm grateful to have you with us as we embark on this calm yet compelling journey through the unexplained. Chapter 1. The First Sightings. The night sky is vast and clear above a sleepy American town. The stars shimmer, distant and silent, like tiny diamonds scattered across a velvet canvas. Beneath the quiet darkness, the landscape seems to hold its breath, as though the world itself is waiting for something. The wind whispers through the trees, the air cool and still, as though nature itself has slowed down to take notice. And yet, beneath this serene surface, something stirs. Far off in the distance, where the horizon blurs into the dark expanse, a glimmer of light flickers. At first, it seems like nothing more than a distant star, perhaps the tail of a meteor or the soft glow of an aircraft's lights. But as it grows brighter, it does not behave like anything familiar. It shifts, moving erratically, faster than anything natural should be able to travel across the night sky. It doesn't blink like a plane's lights, nor does it steady itself like a star. For a moment, the town remains unaware, but someone sees it. A passerby, a solitary figure standing in their backyard, a couple looking up in shared silence, each of them feeling something shift in the air as they watch the unusual object, their eyes drawn to it as though they cannot look away. It moves with purpose, like an intelligence beyond their understanding, and as quickly as it appeared, it vanishes, lost to the night, fading into the darkness, leaving only the quiet hum of the wind behind it. The first recorded UFO sighting in the United States dates back to 1941, when a mysterious object was reported over the skies of the Pacific Northwest. An unknown flying object was seen by multiple witnesses, its movements too erratic to be explained away by conventional aircraft. This sighting would mark the beginning of an era, one where the skies above America became a canvas for strange lights, shapes, and objects that defied the logic of the time. But the seeds of UFO sightings were planted long before 1941. Throughout history, stories of strange lights in the skies and unexplained phenomena have echoed through the land. The unknown has always been part of the American story, woven into its fabric, stretching back to the time of the earlier settlers and indigenous peoples. Native American legends tell of sky beings, mysterious figures from the heavens who would descend to Earth. These beings were often described as shining or glowing, visitors from the stars or the spirit world. Some stories speak of great birds or winged creatures that appeared suddenly, their shapes unnatural against the vast expanse of the sky. Early pioneers, too, recounted tales of strange flashes of light or objects that hovered in the sky, moving in ways that no known animal or man-made machine could replicate. To these early Americans, the sky was a living thing, filled with mysteries and forces beyond their control. One such story comes from the late 1800s, when a group of settlers in a remote part of the country saw a light flickering in the sky. It hovered silently, too still for a star, yet too unnatural to be anything else. The light moved in a zigzag pattern, its flickering intensity bright enough to be seen from miles away. The settlers, standing in awe, watched as it danced across the horizon before disappearing without a trace. At the time, they could only wonder what it could have been: an omen, a supernatural force, or something else entirely. But one thing was clear: this was not the last time they would look up and wonder. As the years went on, more sightings emerged. In the early 1900s, reports began to surface from farmers, ranchers and townsfolk across the United States. These reports varied in detail, but they all shared one common thread: a strange object hovering in the sky, often moving in ways that were impossible for human-made craft. Some saw flying discs, others described cigar-shaped vessels, while others simply reported bright lights in the sky, too large to be stars and too erratic to be aircraft. The early UFO sightings were not the same as the ones we think of today, but they were just as mysterious. People began to ask questions. Was this a natural phenomenon? A military experiment gone wrong? Or, as some began to suspect, something beyond our world? What is it about this land, the vast stretches of open space, the unsettled frontiers, that draws the unknown? Is it merely coincidence, or is there something about the American spirit, curiosity, expansion, and exploration, that resonates with mysteries beyond our understanding? America, a nation built on the promise of discovery, the pursuit of the unknown, and the constant push toward frontiers both literal and metaphorical, has always been drawn to the unexplained. The American spirit has been defined by its willingness to look beyond what is seen, to reach for something greater, and to challenge the boundaries of what is known. From the earlier settlers who crossed oceans to reach a new land, to the astronauts who journeyed to the moon, America has been a land of exploration, both on Earth and beyond. Perhaps the skies above America have always been a reflection of this, a canvas for our deepest yearnings and fears, our desire to explore, to push boundaries, and to confront something far greater than ourselves. The unknown, in its many forms, has always haunted the American psyche, from the first moments of contact with the indigenous peoples to the first steps on the moon. And in the vast expanse of the sky, UFOs represent more than just a mystery. They are a symbol of that ever-present curiosity, a reminder that the universe is filled with questions we're only beginning to understand. As the years passed, the number of UFO sightings increased. The 1940s and 1950s saw a surge in reports, many of them connected to military installations, airfields, and government sites. The rise of the Cold War added a new layer of intrigue. Were these strange objects advanced Soviet technology, or were they something else entirely? The government response was cautious, and for a time, UFO sightings were dismissed as misidentified aircraft, weather balloons, or other natural phenomena. But as more and more people came forward with similar stories, a pattern began to emerge. These objects, whatever they were, seemed to be drawn to the United States, to its military installations, and to the minds of a curious public. Perhaps it is this very curiosity, this desire to understand the unknown, that has led to the high number of UFO sightings in the United States. Americans, throughout their history, have sought to know the answers to things that seem beyond comprehension. The frontier spirit that drove settlers westward, the quest to understand the universe through science and exploration, has always extended beyond the Earth's surface. UFO sightings, in many ways, are a manifestation of that spirit. They represent the last great frontier, the one that exists not on land but in the sky. But as we look back at the early stories of UFO sightings, another question begins to emerge. What happens when the unknown no longer stays in the sky? And how does the presence of the unknown shape those who experience it? As more people report sightings, and as more footage and evidence surface, the question is no longer one of belief, it is one of understanding. What are these objects? Are they man-made, extraterrestrial, or are they something else entirely? Something that challenges the very foundation of what we know about our world? Perhaps the answer lies not in the sky, but in the stories of those who have witnessed these objects, in the lives of those who have felt their presence. For every sighting, every unexplained encounter, there is a story of wonder, fear, and curiosity. And perhaps it is through these stories that we will begin to understand the phenomenon of UFOs, not as a mystery to be solved, but as a part of the ever-unfolding story of discovery and exploration. Chapter 2: The Cold War and the Rise of UFOs, the landscape shifts. The American heartland, once a tranquil expanse of open fields and distant horizons, becomes a place of secrets, of whispers in the night. The chill of the Cold War era settles over the country, and with it, a growing sense of unease. It is a time of heightened tension between the United States and the Soviet Union, between democracy and communism, between the known and the unknown. The world seems poised on the edge of something far greater than any one nation could control, and as the political temperature rises, so too does the frequency of strange occurrences. The first sightings of flying saucers in the 1940s and 1950s are no longer confined to the quiet corners of the countryside, where tales of strange lights were once written off as superstition. These new reports come from places far more significant: military bases, government installations, and airfields, places where secrecy is a way of life, and where the unexplained is rarely allowed to remain unexplained for long. But the objects in the sky defy explanation, and as they become more frequent, they demand answers. The air is thick with paranoia as the country braces itself against the ever-present threat of Soviet aggression. Rumours of the Soviet Union's technological advancements swirl like smoke, stoking fears that they might already possess weapons that could challenge the very core of American power. This new era of tension brings with it a deep-seated anxiety. Could these objects, these strange flying things, be enemy craft, some advanced weapon from across the ocean, defying the laws of physics and technology that the world understands? The idea that UFO sightings could be nothing more than enemy technology seems almost plausible at the time. The American government, its military, and the public alike are grappling with this new, terrifying unknown. At the height of the Cold War, it's easy to see how UFO sightings could be interpreted as a manifestation of those very fears. Is it a new weapon being tested by the Soviets, something so advanced that it has no clear explanation? Or could it be something far stranger, something entirely beyond human comprehension? One of the most famous UFO sightings that would spark this modern craze occurred in 1947. Kenneth Arnold, a private pilot flying near Mount Rainier in Washington, reported seeing 9 disc-shaped objects flying at high speeds. Arnold's description of the objects, moving in a manner unlike any known aircraft, caught the attention of the public and the press. The objects, he said, skipped like a saucer would if you skipped it across the water, giving rise to the now iconic term flying saucers. It was a moment that would ignite the imagination of an entire nation and set the stage for decades of sightings and speculation. This was not a singular event. Over the following years, the sightings continued seemingly without end. More pilots, military personnel, and civilians began to report similar experiences, each one adding to the growing chorus of bewilderment and wonder. These objects were not just lights in the sky. They were objects of unimaginable speed and agility, performing maneuvers that defied all logic. No known aircraft, American, Soviet or otherwise, was capable of such feats. So what were they? The Roswell incident, which occurred in 1947 just days after Arnold's sighting, would further fuel the fire. The military, after initially reporting that they had recovered a flying disc from a remote crash site in New Mexico, quickly retracted the statement and claimed that the object was merely a weather balloon. The sudden change in story only deepened the mystery. What had really happened at Roswell? Was there a cover-up? Were the government and military hiding the truth? The secrecy surrounding the incident became as much a part of the story as the strange objects themselves. The idea that UFOs were extraterrestrial visitors from beyond the stars began to take hold in the popular imagination, setting the stage for the decades of speculation and theory that would follow. But the UFO phenomenon was not just about lights in the sky. It was about the collective psyche of the nation. The Cold War had forced America into a state of constant alert, where the spectre of the Soviet threat loomed large. The unknown, whether it was the presence of enemy technology or something entirely outside of human understanding, felt like a constant, palpable presence. The objects in the sky were no longer just strange phenomena. They were symbols of the unknown, reflections of the fears and hopes of an entire generation. In the midst of this uncertainty, UFOs represented something both terrifying and tantalizing. On one hand, they embodied the fear of the unknown, a fear that something far greater, far more powerful, might be watching, waiting, just beyond our reach. But on the other hand, they represented the infinite possibility that America had always dreamed of, a world beyond the Earth, a new frontier to explore. In the 1950s, America's dream of space exploration was just beginning to take shape, and UFOs seemed to promise a future where humanity could break free of its earthly bonds and reach for the stars. But this dream of exploration was haunted by the fear of what might be waiting for us beyond the stars. The idea that UFOs could be visitors from another world raised more questions than it answered. Were we alone in the universe? Were these objects the first signs of extraterrestrial life? Or were they something even stranger? Something that, for reasons unknown, had chosen to observe us from afar? In the 1950s, as the UFO craze took hold, the American public was filled with a mixture of awe and fear. Newspapers and magazines published stories of sightings, often with sensational headlines that fed into the mystery and intrigue. The government, for its part, was more cautious, and its responses range from denial to outright dismissal. In 1952, the US Air Force began investigating UFOs through Project Blue Book, a series of investigations that lasted for over 2 decades. The project's official stance was that UFOs were nothing more than misidentified aircraft or weather phenomena. Yet, the more the Air Force investigated, the more sightings they recorded, each one leaving the mystery unresolved. And so, UFOs became symbols of a deeper question. What happens when the unknown becomes part of our daily lives? When the line between reality and the unimaginable becomes so thin that even the most skeptical cannot ignore it? Perhaps UFOs were not just physical objects, but representations of the human struggle to understand the infinite, a search for meaning in a world that seemed increasingly defined by uncertainty. In this atmosphere of fear and speculation, UFOs became something more than just sightings in the sky. They were reflections of the anxieties and hopes that shaped an entire generation. They embodied both the promise of a future that stretched far beyond our planet and the terror of an unknown force that could disrupt everything we knew. UFOs were a symbol of the Cold War, a time of division, secrecy and fear, but they were also a symbol of something greater, the yearning to explore, to understand, and to reach beyond the limits of our world. As UFO sightings increased, so too did the questions about what these objects truly were. Were they extraterrestrial? Were they a secret weapon? Or were they something even more elusive? Something that continued to slip between the cracks of understanding? What happens when the unknown refuses to stay in the sky and begins to touch the ground, leaving behind questions and mysteries that seem too big to comprehend? The search for answers continues, as the phenomenon of UFO sightings remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of the modern world. But the rise of UFO sightings in the 1940s and 1950s would mark the beginning of a new era, one in which the unknown would no longer remain in the sky, but would begin to infiltrate every aspect of life, leaving behind not just questions, but a growing sense of unease and wonder. And in the quiet corners of American homes, beneath the stars and the shadows, the question would linger. What is it that watches us from above? What is it that stirs in the sky, just out of reach? Chapter 3: The Government's Silent Response. In darkened rooms beneath the surface of government buildings, the hum of bureaucracy stirs. The flickering lights in the hallways seem to reflect the pulse of secrecy that runs through the veins of these buildings. Documents are sealed, discussions are had in hushed tones, and the search for answers continues even as the public remains in the dark. The heavy weight of silence hangs in the air, pressing down on every conversation, every decision. In these rooms, something is being examined, something is being calculated, but it is not shared with the world beyond these walls. Here, in the shadows, the truth of what's really happening in the skies stays hidden, wrapped tightly in the folds of secrecy. Despite the mounting number of UFO sightings, the government's official stance remains one of skepticism. In public, the message is clear. UFOs are nothing more than a mixture of natural phenomena, misidentified aircraft, or psychological factors. The idea that there could be something beyond the known world is dismissed as nonsense, a product of overactive imaginations or misguided conclusions. But in the darker corners of government, where the public cannot see, there is a growing concern. There are reports piling up, too many to be explained away by simple misunderstandings. Something is out there, but what is it? The United States Air Force, responding to the growing number of UFO reports, initiated Project Blue Book in the early 1950s. This program, designed to investigate and catalogue UFO sightings, was meant to provide answers, or at least put an official end to the growing mystery. The project would go on to collect over 12,000 UFO reports, but the government's official stance remained unchanged. Most sightings could be explained as weather balloons, aircraft, or even optical illusions. The explanations, however, seemed too convenient, too rehearsed, and too simplistic to silence the growing questions in the minds of those who had witnessed the unexplained. Among the reports, there were strange and unexplainable accounts from military personnel, pilots, and government employees, people trained to distinguish between the ordinary and the extraordinary. Their testimonies were chilling, objects that defied physics, performing maneuvers that no known craft could execute. These objects were not like anything that could have come from Earth, and certainly not from the Soviet Union. They moved too quickly, too erratically, and in ways that challenged the laws of nature itself. For those who saw them, these objects were as real as anything else they had witnessed in their lives, and yet, when they reported them, they were met with the cold, indifferent silence of a government that seemed more concerned with keeping things under wraps than with seeking the truth. In the 1960s and 1970s, the government's silence only fueled speculation and conspiracy theories. Why, the public wondered, would the government deny the truth? Were they hiding something more profound, something they were unwilling to admit to the public? Was it possible that these UFOs were extraterrestrial visitors, or were they a top-secret military weapon being kept from the people? The longer the government remained silent, the more the public began to speculate, and the more elaborate the conspiracy theories became. Rumours of alien autopsies, secret underground bases, and covert government dealings became part of the larger narrative. The silence of the government created a void, one that was filled with wild theories and deepening mystery. In the late 2010s, a new development would reignite the UFO conversation. Leaked footage from Navy pilots, captured on military-grade cameras, revealed strange flying objects that defied all explanation. The footage showed unidentified flying objects, spherical, fast-moving, and seemingly unaffected by gravity, darting through the sky at impossible speeds. The objects did not behave like any known aircraft, military or civilian, and the pilots who saw them were unable to explain what they were. The footage, originally classified, was declassified by the Pentagon, and the government's acknowledgement of the footage sent shockwaves through the public. The fact that the military itself was unsure of what the objects were only added to the mystery. In the years that followed, the US government, while still refusing to claim the objects were extraterrestrial, acknowledged that they had no explanation for many of the sightings. The Pentagon even went so far as to create the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena UAP Task Force, a department dedicated to investigating these strange objects. And yet, despite the acknowledgement, the official stance remained one of skepticism. UFOs had been part of American folklore for decades, but now, in the cold light of modern technology, the mystery seemed to deepen, not fade away. The government's silence, however, speaks volumes. What does it mean for a government to remain silent in the face of such inexplicable events? Does it symbolize control or fear? Perhaps in the silence we find the same uncertainty that haunts us all when faced with the unknown. There is something profoundly unsettling about a government that, rather than offering answers, chooses instead to remain quiet. The more we learn, the more questions arise. And the more the government remains silent, the more we are forced to ask, what is it that they are hiding? What is it that we are not meant to know? UFOs, in their ambiguity, are both a promise and a threat, something beyond human comprehension, both beautiful and terrifying. They are a reminder of how little we truly know about the world and the universe beyond it. They symbolize the frontier we have yet to conquer, but they also serve as a reminder of the forces that exist beyond our understanding. To some, UFOs represent hope, the possibility that we're not alone in the universe, that there is more to discover, more to learn, more to explore. But to others, they represent fear, the fear of the unknown, the fear of encountering something that might not be benign, something that might be watching us, waiting for us to reach too far. The question of UFOs does not end with government reports or military sightings. It does not end with the acknowledgement of their existence by the very institutions that once denied them. The phenomenon is far from over. In fact, as UFO sightings increase, so too do the questions about what these objects truly are. Are they extraterrestrial? Are they a secret weapon? Or are they something even more elusive, something that continues to slip between the cracks of understanding? But the mystery of UFOs does not remain confined to the military and government agencies. As sightings continue to increase and the question of their origins becomes more pressing, the phenomenon is starting to enter the lives of ordinary citizens in ways that can no longer be ignored. The question that now arises is, what happens when the unknown moves from the sky and enters the lives of people, those who have no ties to the government, those who have no reason to lie or exaggerate? What happens when the unknown becomes a personal experience, a shared experience, something that is seen by ordinary people, not just military personnel and government officials? The government's silence may have allowed the mystery to grow, but the truth is that UFOs are not just a government issue. They are a part of the human experience, a mystery that, in its silence, continues to shape the lives of all who witness it. And as we look to the skies, the question that remains is, what is out there, waiting for us to discover it? Chapter 4: Encounters and Personal Experiences. The stillness of night stretches over a quiet suburban neighbourhood. The hum of distant traffic is muffled by the cool, crisp air, and the only sounds are the soft rustling of leaves and the occasional chirp of crickets. It's the kind of night where everything seems to be in its place, unremarkable, almost too perfect in its peace. The houses sit in neat rows, their windows glowing faintly with the warm light from within. A man stands alone in his backyard staring up at the sky. His breath is slow and measured, the chill air filling his lungs as he tries to make sense of the world around him. He has no particular reason for being out there at this hour, no urgent task that calls him to the night, and yet something compels him to look up, to take in the vastness above. The stars shimmer, distant and silent, like a canvas of infinite possibilities. The night seems endless, but there is something else in the sky, something unfamiliar, something that doesn't belong. At first it's a flicker, no more than a faint glimmer in the distance. It seems almost too small to be noticed, but as he watches it grows brighter, its movement erratic and too swift to be anything earthly. It darts across the sky, shifting direction without any apparent logic. It isn't a plane, and it isn't a star. It's something else entirely, something that doesn't obey the laws of physics, something that feels out of place in the quiet of the suburban night. The man's pulse quickens, the hairs on the back of his neck stand up. His eyes are fixed on the object, but his mind races to understand what he's seeing. He doesn't know what it is, he doesn't even know how to explain it to anyone, but one thing is certain. Something is up there, watching, waiting. It moves again, a sudden sharp turn that makes no sense, and then it disappears, swallowed by the darkness. The man stands frozen, his breath catching in his chest. What he just witnessed will change his life forever. This man is not alone. Across the United States, millions of ordinary citizens have witnessed similar events, strange lights, inexplicable movements, and encounters with objects that defy all logic and explanation. These are the encounters that blur the line between reality and something far stranger, something that challenges the boundaries of belief. These personal experiences, often dismissed by the mainstream, have left lasting imprints on those who have lived through them. They are not just stories, they are memories that shape the lives of those who witness them, filling their thoughts with questions that remain unanswered. One of the most famous of these encounters took place in 1961, when Betty and Barney Hill, an American couple, reported being abducted by aliens while driving through the mountains of New Hampshire. The Hills' account remains one of the most well-documented and widely debated alien encounters in history. They described being taken aboard a spacecraft, where they were subjected to strange examinations by beings that were neither fully human nor entirely alien. The couple's experience would become one of the defining narratives of the UFO abduction phenomenon, sparking a wave of similar reports and creating the foundation for the abduction narrative that would dominate UFO lore for decades. The details of Betty and Barney Hill's encounter are chilling in their consistency and their defiance of conventional logic. The couple, who'd been driving late at night, noticed a bright light in the sky, initially mistaking it for a plane. But the light quickly grew larger, following them as they drove down the dark highway. Eventually they stopped the car and got out to investigate. As they stared at the object, it descended toward them, its lights now blinding. Before they knew it, the couple found themselves aboard a craft, surrounded by strange beings who communicated with them in a manner that was more telepathic than verbal. The Hill story was so remarkable that it caught the attention of the media, UFO researchers, and the general public. The couple underwent hypnosis sessions to recover lost memories of the abduction, and their testimony, combined with their physical and psychological symptoms afterward, became key pieces of evidence for believers in extraterrestrial encounters. Despite this, skeptics dismissed their story, attributing it to stress, sleep paralysis, or simple imagination. But for Betty and Barney Hill, the experience was real, and it left a permanent mark on their lives. The Hill abduction is far from an isolated case. Across the decades, ordinary citizens, from farmers in the Midwest to suburban families, have come forward with similar stories of strange lights, unexplained craft, and encounters with beings that seem to belong to another world. These personal experiences are often far more disturbing than the casual UFO sighting. They represent not just a fleeting moment of wonder or confusion, but a deep and unsettling encounter with something that is, at its core, unknowable. These UFO encounters, though varying in detail, share common elements. They evoke a sense of fear of the unknown, fear of being watched by something beyond human comprehension. There is often a feeling of helplessness, as if the individuals involved are powerless to control the situation or even fully understand what is happening to them. The most striking feature of these encounters is the undeniable certainty that something is out there, something that exists outside the boundaries of human knowledge, something that is watching, waiting, and perhaps, in some cases, intervening. But what do these experiences tell us about the human psyche? What do they reveal about our deepest fears, our yearning for answers, and our struggle to comprehend the infinite? Perhaps, in the darkness, the sky becomes a mirror reflecting our deepest desires for meaning, connection, and answers to questions we're not yet ready to ask. UFOs are not just visitors from another world. They're reflections of ourselves, of the mysteries we cannot yet comprehend, of the questions we've always had but have never fully understood. In a world where everything seems explainable, these encounters present a challenge to our worldview. They force us to confront the possibility that we're not alone, that the universe holds mysteries far beyond our grasp. They speak to something deep within us, the need to seek, to explore, and to understand the unknown. UFOs represent that which is beyond the veil, that which we can almost touch but cannot fully grasp. They are both a symbol of our curiosity and a reminder of our limitations. They remind us that no matter how much we learn, there will always be something just beyond our understanding, something that eludes even our most sophisticated tools and technologies. In the face of these encounters, the question becomes, what is it that UFOs truly represent? Are they signs of extraterrestrial life, or are they symbols of something far larger, something embedded in the fabric of human consciousness? In our quest for answers, we may be seeking more than just knowledge. We may be searching for a deeper connection to the universe, to the mysteries that lie beyond the stars. UFOs, in their ambiguity, offer a glimpse into the unknown, a chance to explore the very limits of human understanding. And perhaps, in the process, we discover something about ourselves that we never fully understood. But what do UFO sightings really represent in the larger context of human history? Are they a glimpse into a future of interplanetary travel, a sign that humanity is destined to reach the stars? Or are they a symbol of humanity's collective unconscious, a manifestation of our deepest fears and desires, something we have always known but have yet to fully understand. These encounters have changed the lives of those who have experienced them, forcing them to question the nature of reality, the existence of life beyond Earth, and the very fabric of the universe. For some, these experiences are a calling, a reminder that there is more to explore, more to learn, and more to discover. For others, they are a challenge to everything they thought they knew about the world. And yet, as the search for answers continues, the question remains: what happens when the unknown enters our lives? What happens when it stops being a distant mystery and becomes a part of our reality? UFO sightings are no longer confined to the realms of science fiction or speculation. They are real, and they are happening right now. And as we look to the sky, we must ask ourselves, what do these encounters mean for the future of humanity, and what are they trying to tell us about our place in the universe? Chapter 5: The Unseen Forces Behind UFO Sightings. A quiet evening in a therapist's office. The soft glow of a single lamp casts long, elongated shadows across the room, creating an intimate, almost secretive atmosphere. The only sounds are the faint hum of the air conditioning and the steady rhythm of a patient's breath, measured and slow. The patient sits across from the therapist, their hands clasped tightly in their lap, their eyes fixed downward as they gather the courage to speak. The story they are about to tell is one that has lingered with them for years, haunting their thoughts, often revisited but rarely shared. This is no ordinary session. This is a moment of revelation, where the lines between reality and something far stranger blur. "I've never told anyone about this," the patient begins, their voice barely above a whisper. "But I saw something that doesn't make sense. Something that, to this day, I can't explain. It's still with me. Every night I close my eyes, and it's there. I don't know if it was real, but I know I saw it. And that's what keeps me up at night, wondering if it was all in my head, or if something truly exists out there, beyond what we understand." The therapist leans forward, his expression calm and attentive, the practiced neutrality of his profession hiding the growing curiosity he feels. The patient continues, recounting the details of the experience: a flash of light in the sky, a strange metallic craft hovering, moving with a precision that seemed to defy nature's laws. As the patient speaks, their voice falters, and the words come in fragments, like pieces of a broken puzzle. But one thing is clear: whatever they experienced, it was something that transcended the known world. It was a mystery that to this day remains unresolved. UFOs, unidentified flying objects, have fascinated and captivated humanity for as long as we've been able to look to the skies. From ancient civilizations who described strange lights in the heavens to modern-day sightings of inexplicable phenomena, the human drive to understand the unknown seems to be as old as the stars themselves. Why, we wonder, does the mystery of UFOs continue to captivate us? What is it about the search for something beyond our own world that drives us to seek answers, even when those answers seem just out of reach? There is something uniquely human about the fascination with UFOs. Perhaps it's the sense of wonder, the childlike curiosity that pulls us upward, toward the stars and asks, are we alone? Or maybe it's something deeper, a longing to find meaning in a world that often feels uncertain, where we are constantly searching for something greater than ourselves. UFO sightings, with their strange lights and unexplained movements, speak to a fundamental part of the human experience: the need to understand the vastness of the universe, to grasp something that stretches far beyond the confines of our earthly existence. From the earliest days of recorded history, strange lights in the sky have been part of our narrative. ancient texts and stories describe encounters with celestial beings, omens in the stars, and objects from the heavens descending to Earth. But as technology advanced and our understanding of the world deepened, UFO sightings took on new significance. The modern UFO phenomenon as we know it began in the mid-20th century, when reports of strange lights and objects in the sky started to flood in from all corners of the United States. This was not the mystical ancient symbolism of old. These were real, physical objects, witnessed by everyday people and military personnel alike. These sightings weren't just dreams. They were things that were happening, things that could not be explained away by conventional means. In the years following the rise of the UFO phenomenon, theories began to emerge. Some suggested that these objects were military craft, experimental weapons developed in secret government facilities. Others speculated that UFOs were extraterrestrial visitors, beings from another planet who had come to observe us, or perhaps to communicate with us. The idea that UFOs were part of a greater conspiracy only gained traction as the years went on. Stories of government cover-ups, secret investigations, and hidden agendas began to circulate, feeding the public's growing unease about what was really happening behind closed doors. Perhaps the most striking thing about UFO sightings is their sheer volume and consistency. Reports of strange lights, objects in the sky, and encounters with unknown craft have continued to surface for decades. From military pilots to farmers, from suburban housewives to government officials, these experiences span across all walks of life. And yet, despite the overwhelming number of reports, the answers remain elusive. Each new sighting raises more questions, and as one mystery is solved, another more baffling than the last emerges. The phenomenon seems to transcend our understanding of the natural world, pushing the limits of what we know and challenging the boundaries of science and reason. What is it about UFOs that continues to captivate us? Why do they linger in our collective consciousness, even as we move forward in our understanding of the universe? Perhaps the answer lies in the very nature of the phenomenon itself. UFOs are not just objects in the sky. They are symbols, reflections of our deepest fears and desires. They represent something that lies beyond our reach, something that challenges our perceptions of reality and pushes us to question what is possible. UFOs, then, are more than just unexplained lights or strange objects in the sky. They're a window into something far larger, something that speaks to our collective psyche. In the darkness, when the world falls quiet, we look up at the stars and wonder, what else is out there? Are we truly alone in the universe? Or are we just one small piece of a larger cosmic puzzle? UFO sightings are not just about discovering the unknown. They're about confronting it, about seeking answers to questions that we're not yet ready to ask. Perhaps UFOs are a reflection of humanity's struggle with uncertainty. In a world that often feels out of control, these strange encounters are a reminder that there is still so much we do not understand. They remind us of our limitations, but they also offer a glimpse into the infinite possibilities that lie beyond our world. The search for UFOs is not just about finding something else out there. It's about discovering something new about ourselves, about our place in the universe, and about the mysteries that await us. And yet, for all the wonder they inspire, UFOs also carry a certain danger. They're not just a curiosity. They're a symbol of the unknown, something that can both fascinate and frighten. The mystery of UFOs is a double-edged sword. On one hand, it offers hope and excitement, the promise of discovery. On the other, it carries the weight of fear, the fear of what might be out there, of what we might find when we reach beyond the boundaries of our understanding. UFOs are both a puzzle waiting to be solved and an enigma too complex for our minds to grasp. They are a reminder that we are not in control, that there are forces at play that we cannot predict or fully comprehend. The question lingers: are UFOs a puzzle waiting to be solved, or are they an enigma that is simply too complex for us to understand? Perhaps they are both. One thing is certain, though: the search for answers is only just beginning. As we continue to seek the truth behind UFO sightings, we are faced with more questions than ever before. What are these objects? Are they a message from another world? Or are they something even stranger? Something that lies beyond our ability to comprehend? As we look to the skies, we can't help but ask ourselves, what is it that waits for us out there, just beyond the horizon? But as we continue our search for answers, the question becomes, are these sightings truly as mysterious as they seem, or is there something that has been deliberately kept hidden from view? Are we looking for answers to questions that someone doesn't want us to ask? The mystery of UFOs is far from over, and as long as we continue to look to the skies, it seems that the enigma will only grow deeper. The search for the truth may be just beginning, but it is one that will continue to captivate us for generations to come. Chapter 6: The Connection Between UFOs and American Culture. A quiet room, filled with memorabilia. Posters of flying saucers and alien encounters cover the walls, their edges slightly curled with age, while the light from a single lamp casts soft shadows on the bookshelves filled with volumes of UFO lore. Film reels of classic sci-fi movies flicker in the corner, the faint hum of a projector adding an air of nostalgia to the room. Every object, every detail in this space seems to be dedicated to one thing: the mystery of UFOs and their place in American culture. From Hollywood to the suburbs, from the heart of the city to the corners of small towns, the UFO phenomenon has woven itself into the very fabric of American life. It is not just a subject of fascination, it is part of the nation's identity. The room is a quiet reflection of the larger cultural landscape, a place where the line between fiction and reality blurs, where the fascination with the unknown, the mysterious and the extraterrestrial meets the very spirit of American curiosity and ambition. From the first rumours of flying saucers to the blockbusters of the 20th century, UFOs have become symbols of both fear and fascination. They represent the dreams of discovery that have long been central to the American psyche, as well as the deep-seated anxieties about what lies beyond our understanding. In every corner of this room, there are stories that have shaped the way the world views UFOs, and more importantly, the way America views itself. UFOs have not only remained a part of American history, they have become a central piece of American culture. The idea of strange lights in the sky, of visitors from another world, has captured the imagination of generations. In the early days of UFO sightings, the American public was gripped by the mystery. Was it a government experiment, a Soviet weapon, or was it something truly extraterrestrial? These questions were not merely academic, they were deeply personal, calling into question humanity's place in the universe and the very nature of existence. The public's response to UFO sightings was not just about the events themselves, it was about what those events represented. The 1950s and 1960s were pivotal decades in shaping the cultural perception of UFOs. As sightings continued to occur, Hollywood began to take notice. The genre of science fiction, which had long been the realm of niche pulp novels and comic books, exploded onto the big screen. Films like The Day the Earth Stood Still, 1951, and Invasion of the Body Snatchers, 1956, portrayed UFOs as harbingers of invasion, threats from outer space that sought to dominate or destroy humanity. These films tapped into the fear and paranoia that characterized the Cold War era. The idea of UFOs as invaders was not just a fictional plotline, it was a reflection of the very real anxieties that many Americans felt during a time of political and technological uncertainty. But as the UFO phenomenon continued to grow, so did the portrayal of UFOs in a different light. Films like Close Encounters of the Third Kind, 1977, and E.T. the Extraterrestrial, 1982, shifted the narrative. No longer were UFOs simply seen as threats or harbingers of doom. Instead, they became symbols of hope, exploration, and even friendship. Close Encounters, directed by Steven Spielberg, reimagined UFOs as beings who sought to communicate with humanity, offering a vision of peaceful contact rather than hostile takeover. E.T., another Spielberg masterpiece, portrayed an alien not as a fearsome invader but as a vulnerable being, lost and searching for connection. These films helped to reshape the way UFOs were seen, not just as terrifying visitors from another world, but as beings that, like us, were searching for meaning and connection. These cultural depictions of UFOs have shaped the public's perception of the phenomenon in profound ways. For many, UFOs are no longer just objects in the sky. They're symbols of a greater mystery, one that taps into humanity's deepest desires for exploration, discovery, and connection. But these portrayals have also influenced the way UFO sightings are viewed by the public. Are UFOs harbingers of invasion, or visitors from a distant galaxy? And how do these portrayals influence real-life sightings and beliefs? The cultural impact of UFOs has also been felt in the world of conspiracy theories. As the government's official stance remained one of skepticism, many began to speculate that the truth was being hidden. UFO sightings, particularly those involving military personnel or government installations, fueled the belief that the government was covering up the existence of extraterrestrial life. The release of documents like the Pentagon's UAP report and the declassification of footage taken by Navy pilots only deepened the sense of mystery. The more the government tried to explain away UFO sightings, the more it seemed like there was something more to be uncovered. UFOs in this sense became a symbol not just of the unknown, but of the potential for hidden truths that lay behind closed doors. These beliefs were not just confined to the realm of science fiction or conspiracy theorists. They became part of the broader cultural landscape, with UFOs appearing in music, art, and literature. The 1960s and 1970s saw a wave of UFO-related books, television shows, and songs, all of which reinforced the idea that something mysterious was happening in the skies. The music of the era, from Space Oddity by David Bowie to Rocket Man by Elton John, reflected the cultural fascination with space and the unknown. The notion that humanity was not alone in the universe became a central theme in popular culture, resonating with the generation that was coming of age during the height of the space race. But UFOs as cultural symbols represent more than just fascination with extraterrestrial life. They are also a reflection of America's dream of exploration, of discovery. From the very beginning, America's identity has been tied to exploration, the exploration of new lands, new ideas, and new frontiers. The settling of the American West was the first great frontier, but as technology advanced and humanity reached for the stars, the sky itself became the next frontier. UFOs, in this sense, became a symbol of that dream, a dream that is still alive in the hearts of those who look up at the stars and wonder if, one day, they might journey beyond the Earth. At the same time, however, UFOs are also a symbol of something deeper, a symbol of our constant quest for meaning in an uncertain world. In the face of the unknown, we have always sought answers, whether through science, religion, or philosophy. The UFO phenomenon, with its ambiguity and elusiveness, speaks to that desire for understanding. It taps into the human need to find meaning, to make sense of a world that often feels chaotic and unpredictable. UFOs are not just physical objects. They are reflections of our collective search for something greater than ourselves, something beyond our comprehension. The connection between UFOs and American culture is undeniable. from their first appearances in the skies to their portrayal in films, music and literature, UFOs have become a central part of the American consciousness. They are a reflection of the nation's spirit of exploration, but also of its anxieties, its fears, and its hopes for the future. As the UFO phenomenon continues to unfold, the question remains, are UFOs a harbinger of something we have yet to fully understand? Or are they simply reflections of our collective dreams, floating high above, watching as we grow ever closer to the answer? As we turn the final page of this mystery, the search for answers continues. The UFO phenomenon has become more than just a series of sightings. It has become a cultural touchstone, a symbol of humanity's ongoing quest to understand the unknown. And as long as the skies remain filled with mystery, the question of what UFOs truly represent will continue to captivate our imagination. Chapter 7. The Silent Sky. The vast night sky above America stretches endlessly, an infinite expanse filled with countless stars, each a distant pinprick of light that has travelled across the cosmos for eons to reach our gaze. The air is still, save for the occasional whisper of wind, as if the universe itself is speaking softly, sharing its deepest secrets with those who care to listen. Below, all is quiet, save for the rustling of leaves, the distant hum of a nocturnal world at rest. The lights in the sky shimmer, faint and distant, like old memories of forgotten worlds, lingering long after the events that created them have passed. In the stillness of the night, we are left to wonder, what is out there? And what, if anything, do these lights mean? As we look up at the stars, the questions remain, as they have for centuries. What are UFOs? Are they visitors from another world, beings from distant galaxies coming to observe, communicate, or perhaps to change us forever? Or are they something far older, something deeply tied to the fabric of existence itself, an enigma we have yet to fully comprehend? These questions have stirred the hearts and minds of people throughout history, from the first whispers of strange lights in the sky to the modern-day sightings that continue to capture our collective imagination. UFOs have come to represent more than just a physical phenomenon. They symbolize the infinite unknowns that exist just beyond our understanding, the mysteries that lie waiting in the darkness of space. And yet, for all our searching, the answers remain elusive. We have explored the skies, we have sent probes to distant planets, and we have sent men to the moon. And yet the sky remains as mysterious as it was when the first people looked up and saw the stars. UFOs, in their ambiguity, continue to resist explanation. Some may claim they are extraterrestrial ships, others argue they are military experiments, and still others dismiss them as mere illusions of the mind. But the one thing that remains constant is the mystery. The search for answers continues, driven by the same curiosity and wonder that has always been a part of the human spirit. In the stillness of the night, as we stand beneath the vast canopy of stars, we may never find the answers we seek. Perhaps we're not meant to know, at least not yet. Perhaps the mysteries of the universe are meant to be pondered, not solved, leaving us with more questions than answers. But in this uncertainty, there is beauty. The search itself, the endless quest for understanding, is what continues to drive us forward. It is the pursuit of the unknown that fuels our curiosity, our desire to reach beyond ourselves, to explore what lies out there, in the depths of space, in the mysteries that lie just beyond the stars. Perhaps, in the end, the questions surrounding UFOs are not meant to be answered in a simple, straightforward way. Perhaps the true meaning lies in the search itself. We are, after all, explorers by nature. Whether it is the vast expanse of space or the hidden corners of our own world, humanity has always sought to uncover what is hidden, to understand what seems impossible. UFOs, in their strange and elusive nature, represent that drive, a reminder that there is always more to discover, always more to understand, always more to explore. And so, as we contemplate the mysteries of the night sky, we must acknowledge that the answers may never come in the way we expect. Perhaps UFOs are not meant to be understood, but to remind us of our place in the cosmos, to remind us that there is still so much we do not know, so much left to explore. They are a symbol of our eternal quest for knowledge, our unyielding desire to understand the universe and our place within it. In the stillness of the night, the sky remains a canvas for our dreams and our questions, a vast, silent expanse that stretches endlessly before us. The lights in the sky continue to shimmer faint and distant like the echoes of ancient civilizations, like the whispers of distant stars waiting for us to discover their secrets. Perhaps we will never know what they truly are, but that uncertainty does not diminish their power. Instead, it enhances it, for it is in the unknown that we find the greatest potential for discovery, the greatest capacity for wonder. As we look to the stars, we are reminded that the universe is vast and full of possibilities, that there is always more to explore, more to understand, and more to discover. UFOs are but one small part of the grand mystery that stretches across the universe, and as long as we continue to look up, as long as we continue to search, we will never stop wondering about the mysteries that lie just beyond our reach. And so, as the last echoes of the night fade into silence, we leave this mystery behind quietly, gently, as the world drifts back to sleep. The questions remain, the search continues, but for now, we're content to simply look up at the stars and dream. Good night.